Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie from The Well-Doing Mama, and today I'm going to walk you through how I set up my homeschool planner for the year. I set it up in a very specific way to help me as I plan out each week. So we do not have a set schedule for every single week looking the same. Our weeks vary. Sometimes we have field trips. Sometimes we have days where we do 4-H projects, or we maybe need to emphasize a certain subject over another subject. And so it varies in our homeschool what our days are going to look like. For instance, my high schooler is working on a lot of test prep for the ACT right now, so other subjects are going to be taking a back seat. But what I've run into in the past, if I am not planned and organized, is that things fall to the wayside that I want to be a priority. So I need to write down those things that I want to be a priority for our school year early in the school year. So then as I'm planning out our weeks, I can flip back to that and go, oh yes, we need to work on this. And then I can put it into the plan for that week. So I'm going to turn you around and show you my planner and how I made that work. Okay, so this is the planner I am using. I had originally bought a cheap planner off Amazon that I ended up using for co-op planning. And went back to this. It's the Mardell A Simple Plan Planner. This is what I just like using. And I'm going to show you why, because I know how I like to set it up. So it gives you some pages at the beginning. I don't know if I did a walkthrough of this one this year, but I have. So I don't really put in who it belongs to or my children. I know who they are. So I actually could tear all these pages out and be fine. This shows you how they use it. This is not how I use it. So in this section, number one, we do have a calendar. And I do like to use the calendar, although I didn't mark on this one. Did I mark on it? I wonder if I marked on a different one. I like to use the calendar to know when we started. So like I did mark our start date. We started, I think, in here around the 12th. And then I like to count out about 9 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that around here, we would be a quarter of the way through. We were probably closer to like this week before we were a quarter of the way through, but that's okay. So then if I go from here, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's probably as far as we're going to get, 8, 9. So if we finish up this week to be halfway through, and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in there to be 3/4 of the way through. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that puts us right where I want to end. This is where I want to end because we have college graduation things going on after there. So actually, I think I want to end on the 5th. So my goal is to pay attention to try to get a quarter of the way through. Honestly, I'd like to be halfway through before Christmas, and then we finish the rest up here. Those are benchmarks and goals, but we're not going to kill ourselves to get there. But that may mean that some weeks we double up on lessons. And we don't double up on math and language arts the same day, but we might do 2 math one day, 2 language arts another day, 2 math, 2 language arts, and just get a little bit ahead. Or maybe on a cold winter day, we do school on Saturday. It all works out. If we end up going past there, we go on vacation and we come back and the world's not going to end. So not too stressful. We do 4-H in July, so I need some time in there to work on 4-H projects. So, okay, so how I set this up. This is for one student. I did not put their name because I don't actually want you guys to see all my kids' names. So this is an 11th grader. So high school, we need to count credits. My aim is 7 credits a year for my kids. So she has math. She's using Math UC Algebra 2. When I write this stuff out, this really helps me also when I'm planning things out. English, lit, and writing. I'm doing literature with her and then adding in some writing. Science, she's doing physics at co-op. History, we're doing not grass geography. Personal finance, she's doing Math UC Stewardship. Master Books came out with a personal finance right after this, and I wish I'd known that. Anyway, Spanish 2, we're doing Life Pack. Test prep, we are doing John Baylor onto college. Programming, she's using Khan Academy. This is how many credits it's worth. Okay, so this sets me up for my basics. Then I take the subjects I need to. So physics and geography, we're grading at co-op, so that doesn't need to go on here. and I put them here. So you can see I wrote Algebra 2. Now, I did put pretty washi tape down because this makes me happy, and sometimes I need little things to be happy. Then I went through and I put in all of her tests. Well, I'm only up to 14. I graded test 13. I forgot to put her score in here. And I put her test scores in here as she goes. There are 30 lessons, I think. So she is almost halfway done. She started this earlier in the summer. She doesn't get as many work hours a lot of times during the summer, so she went ahead and started this during the summer. Then we have English. English, I'm more keeping track of hours because we're not using, we are using a literature book. And then the writing, I'm adding it. So I'm keeping track of her literature hours. So each week we have the literature and the writing. I write down how many hours each week she worked on those things. Personal finance, I'm just plugging away as she does the book. And I'll explain to you how I check her stuff in just a minute. Let me just show you how it's set up. Spanish 2, I go through and I put in the book number. This one I think had 3 or 4. It had 4, she said. And then she had a test. I did grade her test. I should put the score there. And then we just keep going with all 10 of the little booklets. So I put that in there. It helps me see where we're at, what we need to move on. Test prep, again, I keep track of hours for that. So each week, I just write down her hours. Programming, I'm also keeping track of hours. And that is the end of hers. Physics and geography are kept at caught. So when I sit down with her, usually on Friday, I will grade her math. If she needs it graded before then, I will totally grade it before then. Not a problem. But I grade her math. We look at literature hours, which this I do with her and her brother together. I look at her writing. We discuss her personal finance, where she's at, what she's doing. We talk about where she's at with Spanish. I take anything I need to grade. We talk about our hours for test prep and our hours for programming. I sit down and do that with her once a week, and that keeps us on track for all of those subjects. If I am doing her physics because I teach her at co-op. If I was also doing these at home, they would each have a page here, and then I would figure out and do something similar to this for those subjects and write down the scores as we go. I have grade sheets I keep for physics, and I'm pretty sure a geography teacher has some stuff too. Okay, so that's my 11th grader. Now we have my 9th grader. So he has geometry. We're doing a Becca grammar, and he's doing literature with me. Physical science, geography, piano, fine arts. I do need to check his piano hours because I'm not sure if he's going to get enough piano hours by practicing or if we're going to need to do some extra theory stuff. Bible, he did Child Evangelism Fellowship this summer and got plenty of hours for Bible programming. And then somehow I'm going to give him credit for 4-H, and I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out. But either way, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that would be an 8th credit. Unless that's half and that's half. I'm not totally sure. He also could get some PE hours. He'll have half a credit of PE by the time he graduates with all of his football stuff, but where I put that in will vary. Okay, so again, I just set it up. I am behind on checking his... I know I checked it. I must not have written it down. I know I graded. He has done past 6. So you can see the date there. I just forgot to write his in here. I have him in my box. When I graded his test, I just forgot to put him in here. So him I do a little differently. He sits down with me once a week. We go through his geometry, and we go through his grammar that he's doing. And I just grade his grammar and grade his geography. Also, then I put in his literature hours, which I obviously need to catch up with him. When I sit down with him, I'm grading these things, and so I don't necessarily sit down and count these, but they are in my planner, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, same thing with piano. I just need to count up his hours. I'm a little behind on counting up his hours, obviously, but I'll show you how I have that. Then here's how I have 4-H written out. So the name of the project, the division class, started, finished, did we do a write-up, did we edit it, and are we completely done? And these are where we're going to write down the projects that we're going to do. And he has one that he started on, so this is something I'm going to work on in the next week, is catching all the kids up on some 4-H projects and getting more started. We're a little behind on where I want to be. Okay, this is my 7th grader. She has more subjects, but they're shorter, right? So, but this is where I started to get lost last year, is forgetting, like, I wanted to do Nebraska history, and she has a logic book. These kind of alternate. Okay, come back. Okay, so these subjects kind of alternate. They're not necessarily every single day. And so I wanted to put them on here to make sure. My 6th grader, so I have her work here. Now, the only things I have here, because I'm not keeping track of her grades yet, I don't keep track of grades till high school level work, is her 4-H projects. And again, set up just like my son's. And I know we've done a couple things, and so they need to get written in here. So that is what I have for her. I have this page prepared to do her 4-H projects. Then we have her Nebraska history, although she has a print-off sheet, so I haven't written anything in here. Typing hours and logic book. So if I want to write things, I can. I don't know that I will. So her and I go through that logic book. This child I sit down with a couple of times a week, and I check her pre-algebra, her language arts. These she does at co-op. We go through her logic book, and I check her Bible. If she was a child that was struggling in her math, then I would check it more often, but she's not. No, like, there's maybe 1 or 2 problems that I need to go over. Okay. So then the next kid. So I do have blank pages if I need to add something, more 4-H projects or something. Next child, have her work on here. I have what it is written in here. Again, she has more things, but they're fairly short. So again, she has her 4-H sheets, and I need to catch up. This is definitely a big catch-up thing I'm going to be working on. Then this is for her typing hours if I want to record them. This child actually practices typing for fun, random times, so I'm not overly worried about it. And logic hours if I wanted to keep track of those. I don't know that I'm totally going to, but sometimes I do that to make sure I'm not assigning too much work for a child. And then this is my 3rd grader. Obviously, I need to get him a logic book. I have not yet, and so that is something I want to do. But he does have all the other subjects. His 4-H project sheets. And then, well, I only have one. This is his first year. He's a regular 4-H'er, so we'll see how many. Last year, he was a clover bud and could only do a few projects. And then this is my 5-year-old, and she is a clover, and so she can only do, I think it's 7 or 8 projects that she can do. Okay, so that is how I use these pages to set up for my kids. I actually white out this, and that is how I set that up. Now, how does that look on a week-to-week basis? And we are back. Okay, so here is a week, a couple weeks ago, where we did do school every day of the week. Tuesday is our co-op day, so I do not assign other work of that day. And then I just come in here every day and go, okay, what do we have going on? So this day, we had a STEM activity at the library that was for 2 hours, and then some of my kids had play practice right afterwards. Actually, if you watch my planning video, this is the week I was planning out. So, I only have a couple of, like, my youngest child that day was not going to get, I was not going to get to her. I do not get to every child every day, and that is what keeps my sanity, is to know that I can't do that, but I'm going to keep doing my best at what I do, and it all does work out in the end. It only works out, though, because I am very diligent in doing it. I'm not lazy and put things off. So if she doesn't get done today, she will definitely be first priority, and that may mean we do 2 lessons on this day, which I think we did, and that's what drove me a little crazy, although I didn't write it in. Okay, so you can see I write in. Obviously, I gave him less to do because we had to leave at 12 o'clock to go to the library for the STEM activity. So and I thought he was going to have piano lessons, and he didn't. But so he was given less to do. Co-op, I write it in for him every day because he should be doing some. I don't know how much he actually has to do every single day. My other kids, so this child is my 5th grade, and she does not necessarily have to do co-op every day. So I don't tend to put it in until like Friday. A lot of times on Friday, I will give a shorter day of work. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. So you can see here, his work is in there. I wasn't thinking I was going to get to math because I knew I'd do co-op with him. But we did get to math and language arts for him. I just did not get to her. But here we did. He got 2 lessons of both of those. You can kind of see that we wrote those in. So they do add things as we're doing it. And so I take what's in my first part of my planner and put it in here. You will notice my oldest child at home, my 11th grader, I do not put anything for. She gets to plan out her whole day and stay on top of her own stuff. And I just need to check in with her on that once a week. So there are also weeks where we have things yet where we've had a lot of strange things. The weeks we've done field trips, we actually didn't have co-op that week. So each week will be different. Here's kind of what a blank week would look like. So let's say we were going to spend this Wednesday doing 4-H projects, and that was pretty much all we were going to do. Then I would just put here 4-H, and I would draw a big line down. So this would be our co-op day. This would be a day we're just going to mostly focus on 4-H, probably 4-H and piano, and maybe I would give them each 1 or 2 other little things to do, and we would just spend that day focusing on 4-H. That may mean on this day, especially for the younger kids, that, oh, you're going to have an extra math lesson, and on this day, you're each going to have an extra language arts lesson. One of the things that I do is nobody is allowed to be done with the day without talking to me first. So I'm going to flip you around. Okay, so nobody's allowed to be done with the day and go off and play and whatever without talking to me first. Number one, I'm going to see, did you check everything off your list that I told you to do? And if you didn't, go do it. Second thing is, if it is like noon and you somehow just, your lessons were short and you were focused and got a lot done, sometimes that's okay. And sometimes I'll be like, that's fine, you can be done, but find something quiet to do. Don't disrupt other people, or play with a younger sibling maybe. Sometimes I will be like, why don't you go pick a game and play with this sibling? Or go read for a little bit longer. Or go work on it, do an art video, or do an extra lesson. So that's kind of when I try to come up with something else. If I notice this happening a lot, I will start planning more into their day. Whether that's some Lego building time maybe for a younger child, or extra reading time, or a game with a younger sibling, I will start putting those things in. I've done that. The game with a younger sibling, I've done a lot, and I probably should start putting back in more for some kids, or some math games with a sibling. So that's what I do if I start noticing they're having a lot of early days, not because I'm punishing them, but because I do want our days to be filled with learning and good things. And sometimes my kids tend to just want to be silly and then ask to watch TV. And our rule is you cannot even ask till 4 o'clock. So don't. So I hope that is helpful in seeing how to set up a planner, especially for a large family. Every day is not going to be the same. And it looked like, oh, well, every day. But you could see that like one child did not get gotten to that day. The younger kids require a lot from me. And if I cannot be available for them because I am working with older kids that day, that's okay, because sometimes those older kids do need my time and attention. And so I have to rotate through, and it's kind of like a looping schedule. I have a list of who I need to get to, and I just prioritize each day the best I can. But the key for making that work, and I've said this a couple times, is you do have to stay focused and do the work. And I have to realize if I'm getting lazy and like, oh, it's 2 o'clock and I just want to be done. There are days I do that. But if it's every day and I still have kids that have not done their school with me and haven't been checked by me, I need to rethink how I'm doing things. So I hope that's a helpful look in how I set up a homeschool planner. Thanks for joining us today. Please leave a comment if you have something else you'd like me to talk about or you have any questions. Please hit the like button and subscribe to see more videos about what we do.